The 10,000-year peace was over. War had returned to the stars. But this time, the humans were laughing. On the command bridge of the Kian Imperial Dreadnought, Supreme Commander Zorak stood rigid, his 4 eyes blinking in rapid succession, a sign of deep unease among his kind. Lieutenant Vex, her violet skin flushed an even deeper shade of purple, delivered the impossible news. "They're laughing at us, Commander." Zorak didn't move at first. Only the tightening of his upper appendages around the reinforced metal armrests betrayed the pressure in his mind. The alloy groaned under his grip. "Replay the transmission," he growled. The main screen flickered to life. A human appeared. Female. Auburn hair cut to her scalp. Eyes like the deep blue of Earth's oceans, an evolutionary quirk from the planet's water-heavy biosphere. Her name was Admiral Tessa Monroe, Supreme Commander of Earth's Defense Forces. Her lips curled in amusement. "Let me get this straight," she said, not even bothering to hide the smirk in her voice. "You, the mighty Kian Empire, are declaring war on us because we won't give you exclusive mining rights to a dead rock at the edge of our solar system?" The bridge went quiet. Zorak's secondary heart began to race, a rapid percussion of disbelief. This wasn't fear. This was mockery. He had declared war in the old way, boldly, with finality. "We are the Kian Empire," he had told her. "We have conquered 12 galaxies. Our warships blot out suns. Our soldiers number in the trillions. The 1,000-year peace treaty has expired. We choose not to renew it. Surrender, or be extinguished." And she laughed. Actually laughed. "You do realize," she continued in the replay, her voice tinged with genuine amusement, "that we've been watching you for 1,000 years, right? Monitoring your communications. Studying your tech. Analyzing your tactics. The treaty wasn't for our protection." She leaned closer. "It was for yours." Hooked? Leave a comment below. Would you laugh in the face of a galactic empire? 50 of the Kian Empire's highest-ranking officers stared at the screen, silent. Not with awe. Not with terror. With confusion. "She's bluffing," whispered Science Officer Krell. "Are they?" Zorak demanded, turning to Director Lurer, his intelligence chief. "Why aren't they cowering? Why aren't they begging for mercy?" Director Lurer stepped forward, his exoskeleton clicking in a rhythm of hesitation. "Our intelligence on humans is limited," he admitted. "The treaty restricted direct observation. When we last encountered them, they had only just achieved spaceflight. Their weapons were chemical. Their medicine relied on cutting open flesh and sewing it back together. And now?" Zorak pressed. "We don't know." The words fell like a comet through the room. "It's possible they've advanced. In a mere 1,000 years. Impossible," Zorak snorted. "We took 15,000 years to achieve interstellar travel." "With respect, Supreme Commander," Fleet Admiral Dex interjected, her facial tentacles writhing, "we should send a scout. Confirm their capabilities before committing to full invasion." "Cowardice," Zorak spat. "For my own fleet." He rose to his full, imposing height, 12 feet of evolutionary dominance. "We are Kian. We do not scout. We do not assess. We conquer." "But if she's not bluffing, enough." Zorak roared. "Prepare the armada. All ships. All warriors. We will darken their skies and boil their oceans. We will remind them what it means to face the Kian Empire." As the crew scrambled to carry out his commands, Zorak's gaze returned to the screen. Monroe was still smirking. "Oh, one more thing," she said, just before the feed ended. "When you come, bring something interesting. We've had 1,000 years to prepare." Do you believe humanity could ever outsmart a galactic empire? Drop your thoughts in the comments, curious minds want to know. 3 weeks later, the edge of the Sol system came into view. 3 weeks of simulations. Of confidence-building speeches. Of Zorak trying to forget the sound of that human laugh. Pluto orbit in 5 minutes, announced Navigator Zell. Zorak sat tall in his ceremonial armor, polished silver etched with conquest and blood. He was dressed for victory. Have they detected us? No transmissions. No shields. No defensive posture. The system is open, reported Communications Officer Trill. Overconfidence, Zorak muttered. The most reliable prelude to defeat. The Armada passed Neptune. Then Uranus. Nothing. As they reached Saturn's orbit, Zorak allowed himself a moment of calm. Perhaps the humans had lost their minds in isolation. Perhaps their laughter was born of delusion. Then. Anomalous readings from Saturn's rings, warned Krell. The rings are moving. Zorak leaned forward. Explain. They're transforming. Not behaving according to orbital mechanics. They're not natural. The tactical display erupted in alarms. The rings of Saturn were unraveling. But not disintegrating. Revealing. It's not ice, whispered Krell. The rings, they're ships. A flood of tiny vessels, millions, no. Billions, emerged from the planet's rings. They had been camouflaged, perfectly hidden for centuries. Incoming transmission, Trill said, pale. The screen flickered to life. Admiral Monroe stood in front of a sleek command bridge. She smiled, genuinely this time. Welcome to Sol, Commander Zorak, she said brightly. I see you brought the whole family. They came expecting surrender. What they found was revelation. Zorak's face tightened as he stared at the screen. Admiral Monroe smiled, but not with cruelty. It was worse than that. It was casual. Familiar. As if she had already won, and was simply waiting for him to realize it. What is the meaning of this deception? Zorak demanded. Where did these ships come from? Monroe blinked. Deception? No, Commander. This isn't deception. It's preparation. She gestured behind her. An entire wall of flickering data projections and real-time movements. These ships. 10 billion of them. We built them. A pause. We had time. Zorak's claws scraped the arm of his throne. Impossible, he said flatly. No species could construct so many vessels. Oh, that's right, Monroe said with a grin. You still build your ships by hand, don't you? How quaint. Zorak turned toward his tactical officer. Weapons status. All systems ready, Supreme Commander. Awaiting orders. Zorak's voice dropped to a low growl. Target their fleet. Fire. If you were Monroe, would you fire back, or let them waste their strength? Tell us below. The void ignited with the fury of 1,000 suns. Plasma beams, torpedoes, gravity disruptors, all hurled toward the swarm of human ships. A firestorm of annihilation intended to cleanse the space around Saturn. But the swarm moved. Not like ships fleeing. Like dancers in a deadly ballet. They bent space. Twisted through trajectories with angles that broke Newton's laws. Some accelerated at rates that would liquefy any organic pilot. They're unmanned, gasped Krell. Those are autonomous. Monroe's voice returned, calm as ever. Correct again. We call them the Swarm. Fully AI controlled. They've been running combat simulations against Kian strategies for about, 900 years now. They're quite good at it. Zorak stared at the feed. Not a single human vessel had been hit. Not one. Return fire, he snapped. The swarm didn't fire. It advanced. 1,000 human vessels peeled off from the larger mass. Small. Shuttle-sized. Insignificant by Kian standards. But they didn't shoot. They simply touched. 20 Kian capital ships were hit, barely grazed by the strange vessels. And then, they disintegrated. No explosion. No heat signature. They simply came apart, dissolving into clouds of atoms, their entire structure undone at the molecular level. Gasps filled the bridge. Silence followed. "They're phasing," Krell whispered. "They're not solid. They're slipping between states." "Correct again," Monroe said. "We call it shift technology. It lets our ships temporarily exist between matter states. No shields. No armor. No problem." Zorak's world tilted. This wasn't just advancement. This wasn't evolution. This was sorcery disguised as science. And it wasn't over. "Here's our counteroffer," Monroe said, voice still pleasant. "Take your fleet. Go home. Renew the treaty, for 10,000 more years. And we'll forget this ever happened." Zorak's voice was a whisper. "And if we refuse?" The smirk vanished. "Then we finish the demonstration. And your empire finds itself in need of a new supreme commander, and about 100,000 new ships." The silence on the Kian bridge was total. Every officer, every warrior, saw the truth written across their instruments, in the shape of the battlefield. This wasn't a bluff. Zorak had never ordered a retreat in his 300-year military career. The very concept was so alien to Kian culture that the language lacked a word for it. The closest approximation. Strategic repositioning for future conquest. He hated it. But he said it anyway. "All ships," he ordered, "reverse course. Maintain defensive posture. No offensive action." His warriors obeyed, silent, stunned. "They're not pursuing," reported the tactical officer. "They're holding position." On the screen, Admiral Monroe nodded. "Wise choice, Commander. You may leave, unharmed." Zorak seethed. "This isn't over." "Of course not," Monroe said, that infuriating grin returning. "You're just repositioning." She winked. Was Zorak right to retreat? Or did he miss his chance to learn something greater? Let us know in the comments. "You speak our language," Zorak muttered. "All 3,177 Kian dialects," Monroe replied. "Including 22 classified military variants." "You've been spying." Monroe laughed again, that same haunting, confident laugh that had echoed in Zorak's thoughts for weeks. "The treaty prevented us from approaching within 5 light-years of Kian territory. It didn't say anything about remote observation. Impossible. Quantum entanglement," she said, as if explaining to a child. "Instant data transfer across unlimited distances. We've had probes, dust-sized, drifting through your empire for nearly a millennium." Zorak's rage coiled inside him. "You dare mock the greatest empire this galaxy has ever seen?" Monroe tilted her head, mock thoughtful. "Greatest by what metric?" "Territory, perhaps. You've got us beat there. But science? Medicine? Culture? Efficiency?" A pause. "You're behind. By several centuries." Zorak roared. "You lie. No species evolves that fast." Monroe's voice softened, just a little. "Most don't. But most species don't combine short lifespans, endless curiosity, and existential dread." She let that hang. "When you believe you might be extinct tomorrow," she said, "you tend to get creative." As the Kian fleet limped away, Zorak sat motionless in his command chair. Behind him, the crew whispered of what they'd seen, what they couldn't unsee. The swarm. The phase-shifting ships. The molecular disintegration. The technology that bent reality itself. And the laugh. That infuriating, knowing laugh. He clenched his fists. Then something else happened. Supreme Commander, whispered Director Luhrer, stepping forward. May I speak freely? Zorak nodded. I've been analyzing the energy signatures of their vessels, Luhrer said. They're unlike anything in our database. I believe they've mastered matter conversion. Perhaps even vacuum energy manipulation. Meaning? They're not building ships from resources. They're creating them from energy. From nothing. The implications hit like a meteor. If the humans could convert energy into matter at will, then they could build forever. 10 billion ships was just a start. There was no limit. And Zorak finally understood, this war had never been about mining rights. It had been a test. A mirror. And in that mirror, he saw something he hadn't felt in centuries. Not rage. Not pride. Curiosity. Curious what happens when the humans offer more than mercy. Smash that like button, it helps the channel reach more thinkers like you. The war was over before it began. But what came after, changed the course of civilizations. The journey back to Kian space took 3 months. 3 months of silence. 3 months of Zorak locked in his quarters, replaying the human transmission over and over. Not the weapons, not the swarm, not even the phase shift technology. The laugh. That maddening, inexplicable laugh. He searched for a flaw, a weakness, anything hidden beneath the calm confidence of Admiral Monroe. He found nothing. And that terrified him more than any weapon. Upon arrival at Kian Prime, Zorak braced for disgrace, perhaps even execution. The Kian Empire did not tolerate failure. But instead, he was summoned before the High Council. Privately. A rare sign of respect. Tell us everything, said Arch-Councillor Vexer, the oldest of them all. His voice was brittle, but his mind razor-sharp. Leave nothing out. Zorak obeyed. He spoke of the swarm. Of Saturn's rings unraveling into ships. Of molecular disintegration. Of quantum-entangled probes. Of a treaty not for protection, but pity. And of the final warning, there are threats out there, Monroe had said, that neither humans nor Kians can face alone. Bluff, scoffed Councillor Krell. A deterrence tactic. I don't believe so, Zorak said. They had no need to bluff. They had already won. The council chamber grew cold. Then what do you propose? Vexer asked at last. Zorak took a long breath. This was the moment that would define his legacy, or end it. I propose we learn. Murmurs of outrage followed. Learn, growled Councillor Traz. You mean surrender. No, Zorak said firmly. I mean evolve. He stood taller. They were right. We have stagnated. For 10,000 years, we have conquered, but not created. We have taken, but not built. That is why we were humiliated. Not by superior numbers, but by superior thought. He let the word settle. I propose we restructure our empire. Shift resources from conquest to science. From fear to curiosity. You propose we become like them, Krell spat. Zorak shook his head. I propose we become something new. Do you believe empires can truly change? Or does power always corrupt? Share your thoughts. There was silence. And then, a gesture. Vexer raised a hand. There is wisdom in your words, Supreme Commander. And wisdom is rare. The vote would come later. But it was clear. The conversation had shifted. And then, something unexpected. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. A signal from the outer perimeter. "We've received a visitor," said a guard. "He requests to speak with the High Council." Alone. The chamber doors opened. And in walked a human. Not Admiral Monroe. A man. Tall, dark-skinned, close-cropped hair. No armor. No insignia. Just a simple earth-toned uniform. "I am Dr. Jackson Webb," he said, smiling gently. "I've come with a gift." "You reached Kian Prime alone?" Zorak asked. Webb nodded. "Your defenses are impressive. Especially the autonomous mines in the Cygnus corridor. Clever. And you're not afraid?" "I wouldn't have come if I was." He extended a small device, no larger than a Kian data crystal. "This contains the complete scientific history of humanity. Every discovery. Every principle. Every invention. Except weapons, of course. You'll need to figure those out on your own." Zorak stared at it, stunned. "Why give us this?" Webb's smile deepened, not smug, not arrogant. Just, serene. "Because evolution requires competition. For the last 1,000 years, we've had none. We've advanced rapidly, but in isolation. It has made us efficient, and fragile." "You want us as competitors?" asked Vexer. "No," Webb said. "As colleagues. Partners. Allies in something bigger." "What kind of alliance?" asked Counselor Dries suspiciously. Webb's expression darkened. "There are regions between galaxies," he said, "where light bends wrong. Where time warps. Where physics forgets itself." Zorak frowned. "We have explored 12 galaxies. We've seen nothing like this." "That's because, they don't want to be seen," Webb replied. "Not yet." "They?" Zorak echoed. "We don't know what they are," Webb admitted. "But we know they're watching. Waiting. Studying us like we studied you." He paused. "And when they come, we'll need every civilization that understands the value of survival." Zorak felt the weight of it all. The humiliation. The clarity. The opportunity. He looked at the crystal again. A sliver of light. A universe of knowledge compressed into a tiny shell. "It will change everything," he murmured. "Yes," said Webb. "It's meant to." The council debated into the cycle's end. And when they emerged, their decision was unanimous. "We accept your offer," Vexer said. "And your challenge." In the weeks that followed, the humans and Kians drafted a new treaty, not of fear, but of exchange. Scientific collaboration. Cultural dialogue. Preparation. But not military? Zorak asked. Webb smiled. "How quickly we share our defensive technology will depend on how quickly you abandon your offensive ambitions." "Fair enough." Before he departed, Zorak had one final question. "Why do you laugh?" Webb looked at him, surprised. "You declared war on us. Your armada blotted out our sky." And she, Admiral Monroe, laughed. As if it were nothing. "Why?" Webb thought for a moment. Then said, softly, "Because we weren't afraid." Zorak blinked. And for the first time, he understood. It wasn't arrogance. It wasn't mockery. It was certainty. The certainty of a species that had stared down extinction and chosen evolution. And somewhere deep in his ancient mind, Zorak felt something he hadn't in centuries. Hope. Not just for survival. But for transformation. What would you do with 10 billion ships and 1,000 years of preparation? Tell us your version of Earth's future in the comments. If you believe curiosity is the ultimate power, smash that like button. Your support helps this channel reach fellow dreamers across the stars. Subscribe for more stories about transcendence, alien psychology, and the thin line between fear and wonder. And remember, sometimes the greatest weapon is understanding.